Tucked behind regal gates on one of London's most prestigious streets stands a mansion that holds more than just history. It holds the quiet elegance of a modern-day princess. This is the home of Lady Gabriella Windsor, a woman born into royalty but shaped by art, music, and distant lands. But what kind of life unfolds behind those gilded doors? Today, we step inside her London residence and into the graceful rhythm of a royal who lives life her own way. She was born on a spring morning, April 23, 1981, not in a palace, but at St. Mary's Hospital in London, just like so many royal children before her. The name she was given was long, lyrical, and unmistakably regal. Lady Gabriella Marina Alexandra Ophelia Windsor. But even from her first cries, it was clear she wouldn't follow the script written for most royals. Daughter of Prince Michael of Kent and Baroness Marie Christine von Reibnitz, Gabriella was born into the heart of the Windsor family, 56th in line to the British throne. Her christening was held at the Royal Chapel in St. James's Palace, with godparents including kings, princesses, and aristocrats. From the outside, her destiny seemed paved in royal protocols and public duty. But the girl they called Ella was never one to stand still under expectations. Her education began at Godstow and later Down House School, where she was known less for privilege and more for poetry, language, and curiosity about the world beyond Britain. Unlike many of her royal peers who stayed close to home, Gabriella crossed oceans to attend Brown University in Rhode Island, one of America's Ivy League institutions, a bold move for a British royal, and one that marked the beginning of her global journey. There, she studied comparative literature and Spanish, diving deep into cultures and languages, questioning the very idea of identity, of home, of belonging. Afterward, she returned to the UK not to claim a courtier's role, but to continue her exploration, this time through academia, earning a master's in social anthropology at Oxford's Linacre College. But it wasn't in the classrooms where her worldview truly expanded. It was on the streets of Rio de Janeiro, where she taught English to children in underserved communities. In Buenos Aires, where she helped produce music events pulsing with local rhythm. And in Cartagena, Colombia, where she worked with El Colegio del Cuerpo, a contemporary dance school devoted to social transformation through the arts. Each place left a mark. Each city added a new note to the song of her life. Returning to London, Gabriella didn't retreat behind palace walls. Instead, she became a writer, contributing to the London Magazine and other cultural publications. Her work reflected a mind shaped by more than bloodlines. It was thoughtful, personal, often introspective, essays that spoke less of crowns and castles, and more of human connection, music, memory. It was this rhythm of life, one composed of art, travel, and compassion, that would guide her into a quiet but meaningful career. But of course, the world still saw her as a princess. And in 2019, the fairy tale seemed complete when she married Thomas Kingston, a financier with a heart as grounded as hers. Their wedding at St. George's Chapel, attended by Queen Elizabeth II, was steeped in tradition. But those who knew her best could see the difference. This was not a royal joining for duty. This was a marriage of souls. For a few precious years, Gabriella's life was a balance of public grace and private peace. A life of music, of gardens, of charity galas and writing retreats. Until 2024, when the unthinkable happened. Thomas died suddenly at the age of 45. In that quiet storm of grief, Gabriella disappeared from view. No press statements, no interviews, just silence, and the deep invisible work of healing. But even grief in time became part of her story. And in 2025, Gabriella began to return, through music, charity, and gentle appearances that spoke not of royalty, but of resilience. She was no longer just the granddaughter of dukes and the cousin of kings. She was Lady Gabriella, a woman shaped not just by heritage, but by heartbreak, humanity, and hope. And now, behind the carved stone of her London mansion, she lives a different kind of royal life, one less concerned with rules and more aligned with rhythm. Residence in London. It begins with a gate, not just any gate, but one that rises with quiet authority on one of London's most prestigious streets, where centuries-old elms line the pavement and the air carries the soft hush of generational wealth. Beyond it, a sweeping $21 million mansion reveals itself like a secret, grand, but not ostentatious, historic, yet somehow modern. This is Lady Gabriella Windsor's residence, a place that holds memory, music, and the ever-gentle rhythm of retreat. Step through the wrought iron gate, and you're immediately met with symmetry. The classic Georgian facade is anchored in pale limestone and trimmed in charcoal gray. Ivy crawls like lace along the window frames, as if nature has tried to soften the architecture's royal bones. The front door, oak, heavy, and carved with delicate crestwork, opens to a marble vestibule where a quiet chandelier sways slightly above. From here, 3 grand reception rooms unfold, their parquet floors polished to perfection, reflecting the natural light that pours in from tall sash windows. Each room tells a part of the story. In the formal drawing room, soft creams and dusty rose upholstery mix with dark mahogany furnishings. A baby grand piano rests near the window, sometimes silent, sometimes gently alive with Ella's own melodies. Along one wall, an oil painting of a Kent ancestor seems to watch, approvingly, as this generation breathes new life into old walls. Across the hall, the dining room glows under a vintage chandelier, its warm light catching the cut glass of wine goblets and the subtle gold rim of heirloom china. Here, intimate dinners are held, often with guests from the world of music, literature, or global philanthropy. This isn't a palace banquet. It's a gathering of minds and hearts. Then, a transition, from regal to real. The kitchen, surprisingly modern in its aesthetic, features double stoves, marble countertops, and minimalist cabinetry. A long central island serves as the heart of the home, where Ella might draft lyrics, sip coffee, or read letters from faraway collaborators. Down a private hallway lies a family wing that feels almost hidden from the rest of the house. Here, there are 3 bedrooms, a cozy living area, 2 kitchens, and even a small recreation room, a place for close friends or relatives to stay without formality. There's also a tucked-away laundry space and a 2-car garage, proving that even royal life must allow room for the ordinary. Up the main staircase, curved, carpeted in soft burgundy, and lined with hand-carved banisters, you reach the upper floors. 9 bedrooms are spread over 2 levels, each with its own personality. One is painted sky blue, with lace curtains and shelves of poetry books. Another glows in candlelight hues, with antique vanities and a reading nook beside a bay window. One room, it's said, was once designed to be a nursery, though it was later filled with musical instruments instead. And then there's the master suite, a serene sanctuary of light linen, pale woods, and a large balcony that overlooks the back garden. On a quiet morning, it's said that you can hear birdsong echoing through the trees, as if London itself were taking a deep breath. The garden, understated, symmetrical, is trimmed in box hedges and dotted with lavender. A wrought iron bench near the fountain holds quiet history. It's where Lady Gabriella was once photographed reading a letter from her late husband, a moment frozen in sunlight and loss. Though the home is described in real estate listings as in need of modernization, every room is steeped in classic charm. There's a chandelier in nearly every major room, even the bedrooms, casting warm shadows at dusk. And though Ella has plans to update certain parts of the property, she's kept the spirit intact. This is not a house of gold leaf and velvet ropes. It's not the kind of palace where visitors whisper. This is a royal residence reimagined, a home of light, history, and quiet strength. It's the kind of place where morning tea is served on heirloom china, but the conversation might be about art, anthropology, or a new non-profit in South America. And perhaps most telling of all, this is not a residence that seeks attention. It simply exists, beautifully, quietly, just like the woman who lives within it. But what drives such understated power? Where does tradition go when it steps into a modern world? For most members of the royal family, the car is more than transport. It's tradition on wheels. And for Lady Gabriella Windsor, every vehicle she chooses reflects a delicate blend of heritage, sustainability, and understated elegance. While she's rarely photographed in the driver's seat, her garage speaks volumes. Cars, LEVCTX. At first glance, it might surprise you. An electric vehicle inspired by the iconic black London cab. But look again. The LEVCTX is no ordinary taxi. It's a modern marvel, powered by a plug-in hybrid system with a 1.5-liter petrol engine and an electric range of over 60 miles. Its turning radius is famously tight, perfect for the winding residential roads of Kensington or Chelsea. Why would a princess drive a taxi look-alike? Because Ella, as her friends call her, values function with thought. This car is eco-conscious, British-built, and designed for comfort. With a panoramic glass roof, whisper-quiet engine, and luxurious back seat space, it's ideal for gliding through London unnoticed, or simply enjoying a silent ride to a gala. For Lady Gabriella, this car is not a status symbol, it's a statement. Bentley State Limousine. Then there's the grandeur. When she attends official royal events, especially in the company of senior royals, Gabriella is often chauffeured in the Bentley State Limousine. One of only two ever made, this car was created exclusively for Queen Elizabeth II in 2002. Its claret and black paint, bulletproof bodywork, and bespoke interior make it a rolling fortress of British craftsmanship. With a 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine, it balances power with poise. Inside, the seats are upholstered in lamb's wool. The cabin is raised for easier visibility during public processions. It's less about comfort and more about ceremony. But even in these moments, Gabriella carries the vehicle's weight with quiet dignity. It's not her everyday car. But when history calls, she steps into it with grace. Rolls-Royce Phantom 4, and then the jewel. In the rarest of appearances, weddings, coronations, and family milestones, Lady Gabriella has access to one of the most exclusive royal vehicles ever made, the Rolls-Royce Phantom 4. Only 18 units of this model were ever produced, all reserved for royalty and heads of state. Her family has kept theirs like a crown, polished, protected, and passed between generations. This Phantom 4 carries a 5.7-liter inline-8 engine, purrs like velvet, and glides as if floating above cobblestone. The interior is clad in walnut burl veneer, with hidden compartments and hand-stitched leatherwork that would put modern designers to shame. It's a car of lineage, a whisper of the past, preserved in metal and mahogany. Each vehicle in Lady Gabriella's collection holds a memory, a mission, a mood. Whether it's the eco-conscious practicality of the LEVCTX, the ceremonial splendor of the Bentley, or the heirloom grace of the Rolls-Royce, each one reflects her unique place in the royal tapestry, a woman of the present with reverence for the past. Because even when you drive in silence, the journey still speaks. And as the engines quiet beneath her, a bigger question lingers. How does a royal soul build a life of purpose beyond the palace? In a world where many royals inherit palaces and titles, Lady Gabriella Windsor inherited something different, a sense of discretion. Her wealth, estimated at $40 million, isn't the kind that screams through headlines or flaunts on magazine covers. Instead, it flows quietly, through ancestral legacies, intellectual pursuits, and carefully chosen ventures that mirror her own values. She earns, she gives, she preserves, and through it all, she remains consistent in one thing: letting her wealth whisper, not shout. Because in a world obsessed with opulence, sometimes the quietest fortune is the most elegant of all. But behind the numbers, what drives her heart? What causes move her to step beyond comfort and into action? Philanthropy. It didn't begin with a royal title. It began with a song. For Lady Gabriella Windsor, charity isn't about ribbon-cutting ceremonies or scripted speeches. It's about connection, the universal language of rhythm, story, and shared emotion. And at the heart of her giving lies one powerful force: music. Her philanthropic path began far from Buckingham Palace, in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, where she taught English as a young graduate. It was there, surrounded by the pulse of samba and the resilience of children learning against all odds, that Gabriella first witnessed how music could bridge cultures and break cycles. Later, in Buenos Aires, she helped organize community concerts. In Colombia, she worked with El Colegio del Cuerpo, a dance institution using performance as therapy for youth affected by violence. For her, art wasn't entertainment. It was survival, empowerment, healing. So when she returned to the UK, she didn't just bring back memories, she brought back purpose. In 2020, while the world stood still in lockdown, Lady Gabriella released 2 songs, Out of Blue and Bam Bam, written and performed by herself. Far from commercial hits, these tracks were deeply personal and entirely philanthropic. All proceeds went to the Playing for Change Foundation, a global nonprofit bringing music education to underserved communities. And she didn't stop there. She joined the foundation's board of directors, lending not only her name, but her time, strategy, and visibility to their cause. Her work helped fund music programs from Nepal to Mali, building classrooms, instruments, and hope where there had once been silence. Then came Westminster. In 2024, Lady Gabriella took on a behind-the-scenes role in helping Catherine, Princess of Wales, curate the annual Together at Christmas Carol concert. But her input wasn't just aesthetic. She pushed for a community-first approach, ensuring the program reflected the voices of school children, choirs, and frontline workers. It wasn't about grandeur. It was about gratitude. Most recently, in 2025, she became patron of Restore the Music UK, a charity working to revive music departments in underfunded British schools. With many programs suffering from budget cuts, Gabriella's involvement has helped restore instruments, fund teachers, and bring rhythm back into young lives. And yet, she remains refreshingly absent from the spotlight. No staged photo ops, no publicized check donations. Just quiet, steady commitment. Often appearing at student recitals, rehearsal halls, and music classrooms, not with cameras, but with compassion. She also continues to support Brazil Foundation, co-chairing its New York Gala, which funds social equity and environmental projects across Latin America, tying back to the very regions where her journey began. For Lady Gabriella, charity isn't a royal duty. It's a personal rhythm, one composed of memory, humility, and an unshakable belief that music can change the world. Because in the end, her most powerful legacy may not be a title, but the echo of a song sung by a child, half a world away. And as the melodies fade, another question arises. How does one carry such grace in a world that so often demands grandeur? Personal life. For much of her adult life, Lady Gabriella Windsor lived in the gentle in-between, royal but not ruling, public but never performative, elegant but never extravagant. But even in a family bound by centuries of tradition, love can write its own story. In the early 2000s, during her university years at Brown, she met Atish Taseer, a writer and journalist with roots in both India and Pakistan. Their relationship was passionate, curious, and, as later revealed, a complex dance between worlds. Though it ended years later, Taseer's 2018 Vanity Fair article ignited a media storm, exposing private moments and stirring controversy within royal circles. Gabriella, as always, responded not with press statements, but with silence. Then, in 2015, a different kind of love entered her life. She met Thomas Kingston, a financier with a calm presence, a quiet intellect, and a past shaped by diplomatic service in Baghdad. His work in reconciliation and finance, paired with Gabriella's global empathy, created a relationship rooted in mutual understanding, not just romance. Their engagement in 2018, announced by Buckingham Palace, came after a proposal on the remote island of Sark, an intimate escape, far from flashbulbs and protocol. A few months later, they married at St. George's Chapel, the same sacred venue where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had wed the year before. The wedding, attended by Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, was a moment of lightness for the royal family. Traditional, but quietly modern. Gabriella wore a delicate gown by Luisa Beccaria, the silk flowing like sea foam as she walked down the aisle, her smile reflecting years of both courage and calm. For a few golden years, the couple lived a quiet life in London, walking their dog through Kensington Gardens, hosting intimate dinners with friends from the art and diplomacy worlds, and traveling occasionally to Latin America and Italy. It wasn't a tabloid love story, it was real, grown, grounded. But in February 2024, the fairy tale shattered. Thomas Kingston died by suicide, aged just 45, reportedly while suffering from severe side effects of antidepressant medication. The news stunned the public. But for Gabriella, it shattered her world. Once again, she disappeared from the spotlight. No interviews, no public mourning, just a dignified absence. The kind only those familiar with grief can recognize. In the months that followed, her London home became a sanctuary of stillness. Friends spoke of long walks, quiet music drifting from her study, and handwritten letters left unanswered on a polished writing desk. But slowly, resilience returned. Not in grand gestures, but in gentle acts. She began writing again, singing again, attending charity galas, not as a guest, but as a voice for healing. She found solace in Restore the Music, in mentoring young artists, in carrying forward the light her husband left behind. And in time, Gabriella emerged not as a widow, but as a woman transformed. Today, she still lives in her London residence, the same house that once echoed with Thomas's laughter, now filled with reflection and music. Her days are quiet but meaningful. Morning tea in the garden, piano practice in the sunroom, occasional weekend escapes to the countryside or a discreet art exhibition in the city. She remains close with her brother, Lord Frederick Windsor, and keeps warm ties with extended members of the royal family, including Princess Catherine and Princess Eugenie, both of whom share her passion for the arts and wellness. No children, no second marriage, no public reinvention, just grace, and a quiet strength that has grown louder than any royal proclamation. In a world obsessed with spectacle, Lady Gabriella lives differently, with intention, reflection, and the rare ability to honor both the past and the present in a single breath. And as the sun sets behind her London rooftop, one wonders, perhaps the truest royalty isn't the one with the crown, but the one who rises after falling. In a world of noise, Lady Gabriella Windsor has chosen music. In a world of spectacle, she's chosen soul. If her story moved you, her quiet elegance, her grief and grace, her love of language and light, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because there are still many homes to explore, many hearts to uncover, and many untold royal stories waiting just beyond the gate.